Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We've got some important news to share with you. My name is Dan Newhouse, if you didn't know that, and I'm running for Congress. And I've got a very exciting thing to announce to you today. As you know, as all of you know, last February, Congressman Doc Hastings surprised everybody and announced he would not be seeking re-election. Well, since that time, I've been working hard to win the election of a congressman from the 4th District to represent this district in Washington, D.C. In the midst of a very busy campaign season and a very, very good summer, we're running hard to win this seat in November. Doc Hastings has been a tremendous congressman over the last 2 decades. He has kept in focus the needs of Central Washington, the big picture things like the Hanford cleanup, like water, like our natural resources industries, all of those things. And just as importantly, Doc Hastings has been very engaged as it helped improve thousands of lives throughout Central Washington, throughout our state, and really throughout our nation with his tremendous service. So it's with great pleasure today that I announce that Congressman Hastings is endorsing my candidacy as your representative in Congress from the 4th District. So with that, I would like to have you hear from him himself. So Congressman Hastings, please.
Dan, thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thank you all for being here. And I have to tell you that, and I know some of you have heard me say this before, but this next election is a very, very important election, the 2014 election, as we go into the presidential year of 2016. And it's important because I'm confident that we will maintain control and even pick up seats in the U.S. House. But I'm also confident as I speak here today that we'll gain the majority in the U.S. Senate. That means for the next 2 years, Republicans have to set an agenda that will allow our nominee for the presidency to have a platform to run on. Because if there's any indication that America wants change, the indication was in the primary election here in the 4th District this year, where 75% of the voters, nearly 75% of the voters, voted for the conservative Republican candidate to advance to the general election. Dan being one of those. And I think he is well positioned to represent this area because we need to keep in mind that agriculture is the largest industry in Central Washington. Dan is a third generation farmer and served as the head of the Department of Agriculture. So he instinctively understands the need for markets and for water for our agriculture industry. And his service in the State House of Representatives for 3 terms allows him to understand the nuances of governing, which is very, very important. And governing, of course, is to make sure that the needs of our particular area are fulfilled. We have challenges with Hanford, there's no question about that. The Department of Energy has to come forward with the plan, but when they come forward with the plan, especially with the BIT plan, there has to be an advocate pushing that into Congress, and I'm convinced that Dan can be that advocate because of his experience in the State House. So I am pleased to be here today to endorse Dan Newhouse to represent the 4th District in the next Congress. Thank you. More than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Back in May, during the filing period, we had asked you if you were going to endorse, and at the time you said no. There were 8 Republicans in the field. You didn't want to pick any candidate. What changed now? Why now?
I also said that I want that that was precisely right. There's 8 Republicans in the primary, so I want to leave my options open if I see some changes. And I just feel that Dan is the better of the 2 candidates. I mean, the people of this district have spoken very loudly. They want somebody to represent this area that will oppose the doctrine of this administration, and they said that overwhelmingly. I think Dan is a better candidate than the 2 to carry that message.
I know your stand on education, but I don't seem to know Dan's. I don't know him that well. And that's my prime concern, as you know, Doc.
Well, education, as you know, Mary, is primarily a state function as it should be. I think the last thing we need to do is impose the federal mandates and the federal government more in K-12 education. I mean, these guys have a challenge. Dan was in the state legislature. He understands the need of two court decisions, the Duran decision, the Cleary decision, and just recently said at the legislature. That's a challenge they have, there's no question.
Did Clint Didier approach you about a possible endorsement?
Well, I spoke with Clint two days ago and told him I was going to make this endorsement. Clint has been a friend and a supporter over the years. It's just one of the, politics is part of the game where you have to make decisions, and I just feel Dan is better than two candidates.
It's a game where you have to make decisions, although traditionally when there are multiple candidates in the field from the party of the sitting representative or sitting elected office, that person tends to stay neutral. Why did you feel you couldn't stay neutral in this race?
Well, I feel that, as I mentioned, this election and the next Congress is going to be a very critical Congress if we gain control of the Senate. I think the most important thing we need to do is to stay on message, to show different ideas. For example, Paul Ryan is just out with a book now. He was a budget chairman. I think Dan can carry on that tradition, having been in the legislature before. The nuances between the two, I think, are something that's important. I think he is prepared to step forward with this very important Congress that's going to be sitting in the seat.
Did you vote for Mr. Newhouse in the primary?
Now, Jeff, you know that voting is a private decision, but I'm endorsing Dan today.
The American people are being raped through the income tax, through the Federal Reserve money printing, through the illegal wars, and we're basically murdering people across the ocean. Are we going to address this? Are we going to get rid of the Federal Reserve? Are we going to start saying that the income tax is illegal and it's theft? Are we going to stop going into wars we shouldn't be going to? Are we going to stop our government from going into debt?
I'll just say this as somebody that's leaving the public sector. Typically, foreign policy is addressed by the chief executive. I think, and I generally always view the presidency regarded as the president on foreign policy, but I will say this. I think this president is sorely lacking on leading what we should do in the foreign arena. And the sooner that the president comes up with a plan so that the Congress, a co-equal branch of government, can respond to that plan, I think the better off we are in America. Now, but the president has to come up with a plan. And unfortunately, I believe the policies of the last 5 years have left us in a vulnerable position. There's no question that ISIS is a worldwide threat. And with the pressure they're putting on Israel right now, we know that if Israel has some problems, the United States is next. The president has to lead on this. And the sooner he sends up and signals to the American people what that leadership is, what that path forward is, we can respond in time.
You mentioned differences with the president and with the administration. I think it's fair to say both candidates in this race have issues with this president and this administration. What differences did you see between the two candidates that led you to this endorsement?
Listen, both from what I know of Dan, and I've known him for a number of years with Clint, I don't see a whole lot of difference between their philosophy. I just think that Dan's experience is simply a better choice to go forward.
Congress is what has the power to declare war. I don't believe Congress has ever actually officially declared war. So are we going to get our troops out of these wars, these illegal wars?
Well, like I say, the president needs to lead as to what our foreign policy is. But America, the rest of the world is looking for American leadership.
Well, it's illegal for him to go to war without a declaration from Congress.
And, the War Powers Act is something that has always been argued about in that sense. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it very much. Dan?
Thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. And just let me add that I'm delighted to have Doc's endorsement. His experience will be valuable to me when I'm successful in this campaign and as counsel. And I'm very much looking forward to continuing the campaign and being successful in November. So thank you again very much for coming. I appreciate it very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you all more soon. Thank you.